Hello and welcome to the Fallout Experiment. It's I, the Vault Dweller. It's been a while since we've had a review of any anime, so today we're going to be talking about one of my favorite animes ever, Paranoia Agent. This anime is one of the weirdest, most surreal, and creepiest motherfucking things I've ever watched. And that's saying something. Now, Paranoia Agent deals a lot with mental psychoses and a lot with people's ability to blame things on other things. You know, like, for instance, you know, when you're little and you knock something over and your parents are like, did you do that? Sometimes you'd be like, no, so-and-so did it. Or you'd make up a story for what happened. And sometimes you would do that so that you didn't get in trouble. Other times your parents would know you were bullshitting them and slap you in the face. But this story deals a lot with people being able to pawn things off on other people, and it's all separated into different people's stories. And everybody has their own mental kind of problems, you know. Nobody is exactly the same as anybody else. The only couple of things that are similar in this story at all are that the character of Little Slugger, who we'll get into, and that everybody is mentally kind of freaky. Anyway, so let's talk about the story of Paranoia Agent. Basically, it revolves around, like I said, these different stories of people with their own mental psychoses blaming different things on whatever they can. And there's this little toy animal whose name I can never remember, but it's very popular in Japan. And the first episode centers around this young woman who created it, who is then attacked going down a shady alleyway at night by Little Slugger, this kid in golden skates with a golden baseball bat. Now, he repeatedly shows up and attacks people, but they all have one issue with these people, and that is that they all have some kind of mental psychoses. And then there are these two investigators who are investigating all of these incidents. One is an older guy who wants to attribute this all to basically people being crazy and looking for attention, while one is a younger guy who, well, he thinks there might be a little more to it. Now, this show, like I said, it only has, with that, your main character is the young lady who developed the toy animal, stuffed animal that is extremely popular, but for the most part, there aren't really any set characters. Everybody just it just revolves around everybody. And what's really interesting to me is there are some episodes where you'll be introduced to one character and you won't really think that they're that big of a character, and then in the next episode they will be. So that's really interesting too. What else is interesting is that all these victims of Little Slugger's attack seem to do better afterwards. It's kind of like they all have this stress and this mental condition. And the stress makes everything harder along with the mental condition. So when Little Slugger comes along and, you know, does this thing with the baseball bat, just right over the top of the head, it makes life easier for them. It removes them from that stressful situation, and thereby their life improves, which is another interesting thing. There's a lot of really creepy imagery and a lot of weird stuff that happens in it, and I can't really describe it. Now, before I show you this, I wouldn't say this hits Neon Genesis Evangelion weird, but it hits pretty weird, and it hits weird in a way that is much closer to home than Evangelion ever could be.
I think so too. Talking behind my back. Everybody is manipulated by the media. What a bunch of idiots.
Thanks for helping, Ushi.
No problem. I was about to leave anyway.
Hey, Ushi, do you want to come to my place today?
Really? Are you sure? Why, that fat Bushi? He's stealing my position. How can he even do such a thing? He's just a slow, stupid, and obese country bumpkin who's as big as a cow. Do whatever you want. I don't need you guys anyway, because I have.
Now that clip was pretty short, and since it was taken from the second episode of Paranoia Agent, you might not really get a great feel for the kid and the kid that was monologuing in his head and saw the people transform. But if anything can be ascertained from it, it's that he projects a lot of what's going on in those scenes, like the problems he's having on that person and in that episode, so this way you can get a better understanding. And this won't spoil anything. He's the most popular kid in school, and this other kid isn't. Is just, as he said, some fat country bumpkin, even though he's pretty intelligent and stuff. Which is why, he's so psychotic about this. And it's really interesting watching this guy in this show because, when you first meet him, you're like, okay, this guy's just kind of a winner. He doesn't seem like any kind of dick. But at the same time, he has such an egomaniacal complex to him that the fact that somebody else could be more popular than him, or as popular as him, or is even popular in the first place, just sets him off completely. And that is really interesting because, we've all kind of had something like that, haven't we? Haven't we all, been kind of angry at somebody we don't really know because they're hanging out with people we consider our friends? Everybody has a best friend, and when that best friend of yours is talking to somebody else and they're talking and you can't really be in part of this conversation because it's one of those times when you and your best friend, when you don't know what they're talking about, aren't you, everybody probably feels a little bit deep down like, oh, well, that's my best friend. Who the fuck is this guy over here? Who the fuck is he? He doesn't belong here. Fuck him. And I think that's really kind of interesting that, even though this is to much more of an extreme, it has that kind of a feeling to it. And because of that, because the episodes are all kind of like that, where there's an aspect of them that can hit closer to home, it makes it kind of disturbing in the sense that it's very cerebral. And though I have heard a lot of people say that this anime is way too creepy, and I will say this, like I said, it hits pretty close to home at times, and it is pretty out, and it can be pretty creepy, but it's not as scary as people think it is. It's a mental thriller, yes, but it's not setting out to be horror. It's not horror. It's horror because it's so cerebral, but it's not trying to scare you. It's trying to make a point. And because of it trying to make a point, there are some issues later in the show where the laws of reality are pretty much broken because the creator of the show wanted to make a point. But whatever. Voice acting wise, everybody does so good in this. Just so fucking good in the English version and the Japanese version as well. Everybody does good. In fact, I couldn't even pick a standout for you because everybody's so fucking good. It is so spot on. Everybody does exactly what they need to do. And moving on quickly, since that's been all I can say. Music, it's really fitting. It actually can add to the scenes in a really interesting way. A lot of it's kind of electro, and because of that, like, electronic music by definition is able to become very cerebral. So the fact that these are being paired with some scenes, it can make it really interesting and really kind of scary. And another thing about this is a weird comparison to make, but if you've ever played Oblivion and you've played the DLC where you go to the realm of Sheogorath and you can go to Mania or Madness, in Mania, or Mania and Dementia, my bad. Mania and Dementia. In Mania, everything's really fucking bright and vibrant and colorful, but everything's really scary because, like, it's slightly off. It's like in that 1950s suburb. Everybody's really polite and nice, and they're apple pies, and everything smells good. But the people are just a little weird, and they won't let you go into their basement, but you don't know why. That's kind of what this anime does at points, but at the same time, with Dementia, with it being really dark, really, gray and like people having a very strong adverse reaction, and like you know something's wrong and you can see it's wrong, but if you show that you're different, they're gonna come and get you. It also has that kind of a feel, so it can switch between being very colorful and very vibrant, and very dark and very scary. But the story, like I said, it's not meant to be a horror. It's just like something's askew and you know it is, but you can't go into the basement because the people won't let you, and you're afraid if you do, you might be whatever it is they're hiding, whatever it is they're doing may happen to you. And that's really where the horror comes from in this. And because of that, it makes it an interesting thing to watch. So, that being said, what do I have to say about Paranoia Agent? All I have to say about it is it's fucking beautiful. It's one of my favorites. Like, number 2 on my top 5. Maybe even number 1. I mean, it's so good. So, anybody out there who has not seen Paranoia Agent, I highly, highly, highly recommend it for you. And with that, I'm signing off. See you guys next time.